Hello again, happy quilters. Here we are again for another installment of the Chatsworth Block of the Month. Today it's block 9, Joy.
It is.
We're heading on the home stretch. Anyways, we're going to kind of go through things in a little bit of an abbreviated fashion for these last 4 blocks because we have covered a lot of the cutting instructions and things like that. She is going to go through all the sewing instructions, the construction of the block, how to put it together, but we're not going to spend so much time up front on cutting anymore. We're just going to show you the blocks and the construction. But looky what came. So excited. These books, actually Doug, well, by the time you get this, but he did deliver them here in person, and by the time this comes out, most of you that are supposed to get them mailed or pick them up here in the store should have them. And it is a lovely book. Joy, can you just put this down here real quick? I'll give you a quick overview of the book. And I tell you what, the color pictures that we printed were really quite nice. Is that good? Mm-hmm. But these with this over here,
is beautiful.
It really is a lot more fun. And so then all through the blocks we go, and here is block 9, what we're going to be talking about today. But then there's a couple bonus projects back here too. And well, the finishing instructions and some bonus projects too. So we'll talk about those more later. We do have one bonus project behind us that we'll talk about later as well. But lots of fun. And I just can't hardly wait to see your quilt and my things come all together later on.
Me neither. So let's get started.
All right, let's get started on block 9. So I'm going to close this book now because we don't want you to be able to do a screenshot of the because then you wouldn't need the book. So anyways, here are the instructions that I did on the papers, but now you'll have your book. So here are the 2 blocks that I have made, and of course we have the one that I cut with traditional cutting, just exactly how it is in the book. And for this one I used a jelly roll, and then I used the quarter square and the half square triangle rulers. So if you need any information about how to use those, I think videos 1 through
4 for sure cover very much in depth.
Detailed, especially number 1 would cover a lot of detail of these. So these are the 2 blocks that in the 2 different colorways, and then Joy has it in the Christmas colorway, and she'll take it over now and talk about the block construction and also AccuQuilt.
So before we move on, as Marcia said, we covered all the cutting earlier. The thing about each of these blocks is they use all the same measurements, and there's a lot of the same elements. So you are 3/4 of the way through, and you're pretty well experts by now. So here is the Christmas colorway. And what I want you to notice is that you have seen these blocks multiple times before. This one is made up of the Flying Goose unit, which I have here. And it's made up with the angled parallelogram with the triangles. For AccuQuilt this time, you will need blocks 4, 5, and 7 to cut your shapes. And okay, for this shape, this is a Flying Goose. And what I want to remind you is always have the process where you think about sewing the top triangle first across the front, so that when you have pressed it open, you can then put the second one on top. And often I will sew this from the underside so that my shape always lines up at the point, and that helps get nice crisp points here on your Flying Geese units. And then the other point I want to make about these parallelograms is be sure that your fabric is upright on the die. Do not have a front and back piece, because you will not have the right orientation of these. And these little half square triangles, one side will line up beautifully because they are flat, and the other side will have this little point. Now, about the construction, when you go to put these together, there's a lot of bulk between this unit and this unit. And when you put them together, you want to make sure that you pay attention to your points. And if you need to, you're going to just pause just ahead of your seam, make that final adjustment, and maybe even release the little bunch of fabric you've gotten under your foot. So you're going to put your parallelogram unit and your goose unit together. You're going to do that for all 4. And then my process is to start at the top. I would put this piece to that one, square 4 to square 3, and then the last bit would be to fold them in half and to sew them together. And I guess technically this is this way. Now when you're coming up to these points, remember your thread has to be just on the other side of that join so that when you press it open, you get full advantage of your triangle points. So I think, Marcia, that sums up that one beautifully.
It does. And you know, with these little things, I can remember, if you remember when we went to Kay's quilting college, she said go up the mountain, down the mountain.
That's a great reminder. Up the mountain, down the mountain. And then lastly, Marcia and I, neither of us press our blocks until the very end when the block is done, because that will help reduce the chance of things stretching out of shape while you're sewing. So exactly. I think that wraps up block number 9, Marcia.
That's it for block number 9. So join us again in 2 weeks for block number 10. And until then, my name is Marcia. This is Joy. We're coming to you live, well, not live, on a recording from Pine Needles Quilt and Sew in Rochester, Minnesota. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to click the little bell and whatever else you need to do.
Like and subscribe. We appreciate having you follow us.
So you'll know when the next ones come. We're going to finish up with the blocks, and then we're going to have a finishing video later on as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. Happy Chatsworth. Thank you.